I'm faster, I'm more secure than you'll ever be. I'm faster, I'm cheap and my name is XRP. Yeah, get everybody by surprise with my money. Everybody by surprise, XRP. Everybody by surprise, see it coming. Everybody gotta just wait and see. I get everybody by surprise with my money. Everybody by surprise, XRP. Everybody by surprise, see it coming. Everybody gotta just wait and see. Bank the unbanked, bank the unbanked, bank the unbanked now. Bank the unbanked, bank the unbanked, bank the unbanked now.
One minute to go. We're a bit late.
I'm faster, I'm more secure than you'll ever be. I'm faster, I'm cheap and my name is XRP. I'm faster, I'm more secure than you'll ever be. I'm faster, I'm cheap and my name is XRP. Everybody by surprise with my money. Everybody by surprise, XRP. Everybody by surprise, see it coming. Everybody gotta just wait and see. I get everybody by surprise with my money. Everybody by surprise, XRP. Everybody by surprise, see it coming. Everybody gotta just wait and see. I get everybody by surprise with my money. Everybody by surprise, XRP. Everybody by surprise, see it coming. Everybody gotta just wait and see.
Hello everyone, let's get started. I have no financial advice, I have no financial interests, and I have no sponsored links on my description. I also want no donations, please, during my live streams. Hello everyone, I had two topics I wanted to talk about, but I forgot one of them, but let's see, maybe I'm remembering. Anyway, one guy asked me, I don't know where, Twitter or Telegram, if I could be talking about the fact why XRP cannot be backed by anything, gold or whatever. And David Schwartz has stated that quite clearly in, I think in 2016 already, in certain forums, that the XRP cannot have a third party risk, and any backing basically implies a third party risk, because you have to ensure that the backing is always there. I mean, think about Tether. Many believe that there is not enough dollar backed for each Tether out there. And incidentally, this backing liability is one of the main reasons why the central bank CEOs around the world raised their eyebrows when the Libra project was published. Why? Because one of the main reasons, and Mark Carney explained that in one of his short interviews about Libra, he explained it pretty clearly. The backing of Libra in that case is a risk, because once Libra were actually a digital asset being issued by whomever, Facebook or whatever, it'll be kind of like a global currency, and because it's backed, that'll be a problem, because you will need to make sure that there is enough backing. You cannot, let's say I have 1,000 of a coin and it's backed by US dollar, so I need 1,000 US dollars, and now I issue another 1,000 of that coin, but my backing is still just $1,000. Basically the price of each of these 2,000 coins would have halved now, but when it's still packed to the $1, then it's basically a liability, because the person or the institution issuing the second 1,000 of that coin would receive the $1,000 for those 1,000 coins they would issue, but there wouldn't be the backing, and so basically they would just get rich of the people buying that coin. And in order for that not to happen, it needs to make 100% sure that the actual dollar amount in that case is being put away as real backing. And because that's not so easy, I mean, you can put it back, but the problem is, how do you guarantee that it's always put back in the proper amount it requires? And that's the beauty of the proposed stablecoin functionality from David Schwartz. Because if they did build such a functionality on XRP Ledger, it would basically use XRP as backing. And because it's algorithmically backed or algorithmically checked and controlled, such a stable coin, it could be ensured that there is always enough backing, or someone could take over the stable coin if he offered to put enough additional collateral or backing of XRP. So far about that. And that's the reason why a backing is actually always a risk, because you kind of cannot make sure that there is enough backing, especially not when the backing is kind of a volatile asset like gold. Gold has been increasing in price recently. I mean, increasing in price wouldn't be such a problem, but it could also drop in price again. And then how would you make sure, where from would you buy enough gold to back XRP? And the risk of that is just too high. And incidentally, a bridge asset doesn't need backing. As long as me and Jan Christiansen agree that anything I send Jan Christiansen has the amount of value he should receive, and the third party is actually trusting that thing in value as well, so that when I send it to Jan Christiansen, he can go to that third party and receive, I'm assuming you're living in Denmark from the name, that he would receive Danish kroner, then he would be fine. It could be an old sock, it could be anything. It's really just that we and the third party who would eventually, where Jan Christiansen would eventually redeem my bridge thing for the Danish kroner, that we all three trust that the thing I'm actually using as a bridge has the value. And as that, it's basically irrelevant. There is no backing needed. The only thing why XRP should have a high price. I mean, it's basically the problem of liquidity. Let's say there were like 100,000 times so many XRP available in the world as are today, or 100 million times more than the 100 billions we have now. And basically the price would be kind of in the same range as we're now. It would totally not be a problem, because there would be enough of those quadrillions or whatever, how many much there were XRP in order to even exchange huge, like hundreds of millions in dollar values amount. But as that's not the case, XRP needs to go high. The other thing I quickly wanted to cover is those prices on the XRP charts. Please don't get fooled. Actually, maybe we can even check that quickly. I hope I can. So that's basically from XRP charts. XRP. Hold on, I need to make that. Now, how do I do that? Well, yes. So, and now we move that over, make it a little bit smaller. I hope you can still see it. So on top is XRP and then yen, and it's on the digital gate Japan. And if I now hover over these two spikes throughout last year, you can see, no, you cannot see because my head is in the way. Up here you can see the XRP amount which was transacted. It was like, in one case it was like 1.77 XRP, and in the other case it was like 0.85 XRP. So it's literally, I mean, nothing. At that time it wasn't even 20 cents. But because on that particular exchange the volume is so much, the spike was still visible. And idiots like Sam I am actually thought by that problem, or by that thing happening, that actually an XRP from a private ledger jumped, however that would be possible, from the private ledger to the public ledger. Stupidly enough, because an XRP doesn't know its value. So even if we had two ledgers, a private and a public one, and on the private one an XRP is $5,000 and on the public one it's $1. If there was a possibility to move an XRP from the private one to the public one, as soon as that XRP arrived there, its value would also drop from $5,000 to $1, because it's on the public ledger and it's the public XRP we trade. But I mean, people who don't get it, don't get it. I mean, okay. Yeah, I guess that was what I wanted to talk about. Maybe the actual second topic might come back while we talk. Hello everyone. What is it that's going to happen that isn't happening already that will dictate these higher prices necessary? That's a good question, Mike. Actually, I myself am a firm believer in the Shane Ellis theory. I have made a video about that. Search for Shane Ellis on my most important XRP video playlist on my channel. Watch that video. Make sure that you open the description of that video and check the PDF therein, because in that PDF you can actually see everything Shane Ellis told at that time, all the questions he answered, and it's for me I still believe that it could, most likely will happen that way. Now the problem I believe why it still didn't happen is we need market makers, and for smaller amounts up to $20,000 or so, I could be a market maker. Because every time on the receiving side, on that exchange in that country, someone needs to buy the received XRP. So sorry, I could take my microphone a little bit close so you can hear me better. Sorry about that. I hope you could anyway hear the first few minutes quite well. Anyway, as the recipient doesn't want XRP, as he wants fiat, whatever it be, someone needs to buy those XRP against the fiat the recipient wants. And that role is being taken care of market makers. And up to 20,000 or so, I could play that role maybe. If I had started that market making role 2 years ago, I might even be able to do it in the meantime up to 50,000, I don't know. But by no way, how many people do you know have like 5, 10 or 50 million at hand? They can kind of just spend like that to make something like that happening. It's a little few. On my hunch, this for the high value transactions, the CLS banking group will take over that role. That's basically the banking group which does the settlement for the SWIFT rails today, and those CLS banks have the nostros. Those settlements are not gross settlements, it's net settlement. So if I send Gio $100 and he sends me back 80, basically the netting means that I will in the end just send 20 to Gio, like the net sum difference, I don't know how to call it. Anyway, but those banks, those CLS banks, are the ones who have the real liquidity. Now, as of today, they have that liquidity in their nostrils in foreign countries, and there we all know that it cannot be accounted as, I don't know the exact accounting term. It's not working capital. I think Brad Garlinghouse usually calls it negative working capital, because it's not capital you can use in your balance sheet to show the government that you basically have enough liquidity. It's not countable as liquidity, the money in the nostrils. But if you could pull that back and play the market making role in your country, and if everyone would do that, then basically it would totally work. And that's why I strongly believe that with all these new regulations for banks and financial institutions being able to hold or crypto in general, digital assets in general, starting 1st of January 2020, I strongly believe that this will have a strong influence on the price, because that will make sure that for those high value transactions there will be institutions who can play that market making role, and then the system can get started. If it happens in January directly or only in June, I don't know, but it will definitely not take another year. That's something I'm quasi 100% sure. Anne Polinario, yes, I just talked about that. But I think it was just a glitch. Ralph Raymond, I think MoneyTap is actually something similar to Western Union or MoneyGram from SBI. I think you can also use it in Singapore, in Thailand, in all those South, I don't know, Pacific, I don't know how those countries are called there, Southeast Asia. However, within Japan, XRP won't be needed. Now I remember. Thanks. Who was that question coming from? From Ralph Raymond. Now I almost remembered. Right. Now I remembered the second point I wanted to cover. Because many think that XRP will be used locally. Like when I'm sending from one German bank to another German bank euros. That's stupid. ILP or X current is totally enough. There won't be XRP needed to achieve that. Understand that, please. For the same reason, and that's something also some people still don't understand. If I pay Ralph Raymond in ETH, in Ethereum, and he wants to receive Bitcoin, and the ILP connector is an exchange, let's say Bitstamp, there is no need for XRP. Why would I send Ethereum to Bitstamp? They would change it to, they would need to sell it first, either directly for XRP or for fiat, and then buy Bitcoin and send those Bitcoin to whom was it? Ralph Raymond. Totally stupid. I mean, they can do that in an atomic swap without an intermediary bridge asset, as long as they have both sending and recipient kind of currency available. Then there is no XRP needed, and this is very crucial to understand. That's the reason why I believe that if exchanges are to become ILP connectors, if you send one crypto and the recipient receives another one, and that exchange which plays the ILP connector has basically accounts on both cryptos, there will not be any XRP needed. That's totally stupid. Totally stupid. Amit Bentaleb, I really don't know this whales manipulation. This is something which always eluded me. I cannot see that working somehow, but that's the reason why I also don't want to go into that, because basically, I mean, that could work, this whale manipulation, but it might also not work. That depends on the sentiment on the market. I mean, Could be that those whales lost quite a lot of money in the 2007 bull run. I really don't know. Hi, Raf. Thanks for your donation again. That was I mean, I really... All those XRP tip pot tips I will receive will go to... Those ones will go to one charity. I think we already know, my wife and me. It's a house where they take care of people with Down syndrome. It's pretty close to where we have been living before. Like from here, where we live now, maybe about an hour away. But the concept they're having is really nice. Some of those people actually live there. Some are just there over the day and go then in the evenings back to their families. And they have like at least twice a year in December, and I think somewhere in May or June, they have something like an open door where they show all the handcraft the people did with Down syndrome, and you can go and buy that stuff and buy cake and have even raclette or fondue. It's really a good community there. Hi Mickey, nice to see you. Sorry that I'm only referencing you now. The problem is still many believe that XRP will be backed. Totally bullshit. Hamza Benadi, I don't think that those lawsuits, or this lawsuit, I don't know if it's several ones, are important. I really don't think so. I am Legion is from Denmark as well. I didn't know that. Thanks, Jan Christiansen. Whiskey Tom, if you really believe that escrow is relevant for XRP price, then I guess you shouldn't watch YouTube videos anymore, because that will take at least 5, if not 7 or more years until all XRP from escrow is not in escrow anymore. And I didn't invest with a 10-year investment horizon, definitely not. Ralph Raymond is mentioning RippleNet Home. It's actually really good. It's someone, I don't know whom it was, someone called it a little bit like Facebook for banks or financial institutions, but it's actually more. I asked I will be receiving a coffee, and I will be receiving it from the granddaughter of my wife. Obrigado. Wow, that's that service. I told her in about an hour she should check if I'm yawning, and obviously I was yawning. So I lost my thread. I was talking about hold on. I totally lost my thread now. The RippleNet Home. Exactly, and I was talking to Navin Gupta about that. Actually, I wasn't really talking about RippleNet Home with him. The question I asked Navin Gupta was basically the question I asked, and some might have realized in that one video of a session as well, where the CEO of Flash FX was part of the panel. And I think one woman was an employee of, I think, a bank in Peru, maybe. The other two I don't remember. And then at the end there was the Q&A, and I asked the question, can Flash FX be used as multi-hop hub for bank-to-bank transfers? And the answer wasn't really satisfying me. Then after the presentation, I went to Navin Gupta and asked him, and he told me, which was basically a little bit the bummer, no, a multi-hop hub for a bank-to-bank transaction needs to be a bank as well. And within that discussion, he basically explained how RippleNet Home works. And he basically explained that banks do have higher regulation requirements than just those remittance companies, because remittance companies usually send up to, I don't know, 10,000, maybe in rare cases $20,000, but banks send way more money. Why they have higher requirements on compliance. And he said that RippleNet Home basically allows you to put up all your compliance documentation on your, I don't know, company profile, and anyone interested in doing direct business with you over RippleNet can check those documents, and if they think, okay, that's good enough for us, they basically click a button, we want to connect with you, and then you check, upon receiving this kind of invitation, you check the compliance documents of the sender of the invitation to get a connection. If you're happy as well, you accept the invitation. From then on, you can have a one-to-one connection on RippleNet. And in that way, it's actually a pretty amazing product, Ralph Raymond. I mean, it's also, I think if I remember properly in the video they showed, they also, or RippleNet Home will also kind of tell you in which areas you might want to grow your business. In which corridors, if you connect to, I don't know, corridors in Brazil or in, I don't know, Thailand, that it would open such and such an amount of new transaction possibilities to you. And I think it also shows it has some quite interesting graphs anyway. So basically I recommend anyone checking this video. I don't know if it's on, let me quickly check YouTube. Ripple, I don't know if they put this one up on their YouTube site. All the other sessions which are not available on the, holy cow, why can I not find Ripple here? Ah, here. Videos. Ah, now they put up a few more. No, but the one, I think it's that one, let me check. I think, I'm not 100% sure, but it could be this video. I will send the link, so please check it out. Could be that I'm wrong, but that guy on the main page of that video was also presenting RippleNet Home. And on the pages where they show charts and figures, make a pause and go in full screen mode and try to figure out what they're showing. It's quite interesting. We do what we do. Raf, you're really here. I don't know. Sometimes you get a different connection to people, even not knowing them face to face. And Raf, the guy whom I had an interview about half a year ago, is definitely one of them. Stephen B. Is asking about the Shane Ellis theory. Well, I don't know whom told you about 4 digits and 14 millions. The problem is on Bittrex, when I used to check Bittrex about a year and 2-3 months ago, you could see the sell orders up to, I don't know, quite high priced sell orders, and you could see two sell walls, one just below $10,000 and one just below $20,000. The one just below $10,000 was about $600 million. The one just below $20,000 was about $400 million. And at that time everyone was talking about the 589 prediction, and I think at the time of Shane Ellis popping up on those YouTube videos as commenter, it was more or less like that by one single transaction of, I don't know, 37 million or so, the price would get to 589. And the reason for that, and I repeat that, is you execute a sell order. I have to show it like that. You execute the sell order, and the next sell order wants to have a higher price, and the next one an even higher price. And the more sell orders you execute, the higher the price goes. And eventually that curve gets kind of like exponential. It's like not linear, it's like going very high, very fast. And if you want to transact, I don't know those values today, but at that time, if you wanted to execute an ODL transaction in the value, I think it was 37 million, you would need to execute all those sell orders until you had bought enough XRP in the value of 37 million. And at that point, the last sell order you'd had executed would have been at roughly 589 at that time. And yes, the same basically could or would work on each other coin. The problem is not each other coin has that use case. XRP will be the only one once the price is high, where that high figure will be able to be maintained, because there will be coming such a volume from high value payments from the banks that the price will like, there won't be any whale anymore. Anyone who is thinking he's a whale will have basically no influence anymore, because we're talking different dimensions. We're talking like 50 million transactions every minute and stuff like that. I mean, even a whale cannot afford to do that. And that's why the price of XRP will stay stable once that actually happens. And on any other coin, you may rise the price to similar, like, I don't know, factor 1,000 or so, but it will drop like minutes after to the more or less same price as it was before. Hamza Benadi, I don't. Hamza Benadi is mentioning the cross-border transactions and which doesn't really relate to the money stored in Nostros. Honestly, I don't know. I know, well, this 27 trillion, that's Ripple in the past, like in this year, 2019, they always mentioned 10 trillion and not 27. The 27 is from 2017 and early 2018, and then they changed it more or less to 10 trillion stored in Vostro account. But even if it'll be like double, like 15 trillion or whatever, I mean, the problem is you will have to have a reserve there. It cannot happen, Hamza, that BMW is buying for half a billion tires from Pirelli in Italy, and in their, assuming Italy wouldn't be in euro, and in their Nostro account in Italy it would just be like 200 million, whatever Italy is using as a currency, if they were not using euro already. That cannot happen. So basically you need to have a reserve, and the same actually holds true for XRP. I mean, XRP price needs to go so high that any transaction at any size maybe coming in will go through. It cannot happen that a transaction will not go through the system anymore. I mean, theoretically, we could even today move $50 million to euro or whatever. But then the market would kind of be dry. The next 50 million payment a minute later, maybe from dollar to Japanese yen, will not work anymore because there is simply not enough XRP left. And that's the reason that's one of the reasons why XRP needs to be high, to give a kind of a reserve. Ruff, you're a funny guy. I mean, regarding the flywheel interpretation of Brad Kimes, that was, I mean, I couldn't listen to him before, but that was probably the worst video or live stream he ever did. He has no clue about the flywheel. I mean, that was, anyone having a little bit of brain in his, I mean, a little bit of logic and intelligence in his brain, viewing that live stream from Brad Kimes talking about flywheel, would immediately unsubscribe, or definitely not subscribe if he wasn't subscribed yet, because it was totally nonsense. He has basically no clue. Well, Gio, in Brazil there is actually, I didn't read, I only saw a headline somewhere, maybe on Twitter, that they're opening Brazilian corridor as well. And actually there is an exchange in Brazil, I think it is. And on that exchange they do not just offer XRP for Brazilian real. I think they offer it for the Chile currency. I don't know if it's peso, I don't know. For Peru, I think. For Argentinian peso, maybe. I think for 4 or 5 different currencies you can buy on that particular exchange XRP. So basically that one exchange could eventually serve the whole South American continent, at least the big countries there. Bob Jenkins, XLM will have its use cases. Manuel, a dear Swiss follower of mine, I don't know if he's here today, I haven't seen him yet. He's always worried what would happen to micropayments in case of XRP hit $10,000. And I always have to answer him, don't worry. I mean, there will be solutions to that, and maybe XLM will be targeting the micropayments in the future. I mean, that's could also be that XLM will be serving in the ILP scenario kind of corridor, like exotic corridors, I don't know, Cambodia, whatever, like corridors XRP for whatever reason cannot serve. Yeah, Ralph Raymond, I'm also very disappointed if we don't see $1 by April, but I think by the end of January, with a little bit of luck, we might even hit 2 digits already. Sam I am is an idiot, and he's too arrogant to admit that he made several mistakes. I called him out, and the only thing he can do is he kind of hides my comments from his channel, and he blocked me. And I mean, if you guys say that we're an XRP community, I mean, I'm open for criticism as well. I didn't do that in the last 2-3 months, but usually when I'm talking about figures in my live stream, like when I'm presenting whatever figures, whatever calculations I'm doing, I'm usually asking my followers, please check those figures and give me feedback, tell me where I'm wrong, where I'm making mistakes in my assumptions and stuff. So I'm open for criticism. But obviously people like Brad Kimes, digital asset investor, and Sam I am are not. And I mean, end of discussion. And hi Stuart, nice. Today I have quite a prominent followership, not so many, a little bit less than 100. Stuart, there is actually something else about Stuart XRP is mentioning the 100 in one forum, I don't remember where it was, people were asking David Schwartz about possible prices of XRP, and then he mentioned, I think, 120 if this and this happens, but you can add a multiplier. And I mean, for me, that multiplier can be anything between 1 and 100. But most who think it'll never go to 1,000 think maybe 2 or 3. But David has always been quite like he was on the lower. He didn't tell XRP could go to $1,000. He was always a little bit, or quite conservative in his, when he actually issued possible price figures. Why I think that XRP might be 2 digits end of January. I'm honestly hoping that SBI VC finally goes live. We still cannot see any volume from there, which is really weird. But I know that starting 1st of January in Japan, new regulations will come into play. And I'm pretty sure, because SBI VC is a bank-backed exchange, they wanted to make 100% sure that they're compliant. And I don't remember when this FATF regulation came out. I think it was somewhere between March and June. Maybe someone correct me. But the FATF basically proposed, and maybe someone can correct me, I think that every time someone sends, I think it was more than 7,000 US dollar on the sender and recipient side, KYC and AML needs to have been done properly. And I'm pretty sure SBI VC makes sure about that this is really 100% foolproof. They cannot fail any regulation. And once we see volume from there, and I stated that every time we thought now SBI is really going live, I stated that I think the volume we might see then coming from there might bring us already in the lower dollar areas, $1, $2, maybe $3 or so, and that might drive some more speculation. We will see how it happens, but I could really think that but that all depends on SBI VC actually coming live and showing their volume eventually. I mean, if there is more delays, then most probably we won't see those 2 digits, because for those banks playing this market making role for the high value transactions, I mean, doesn't mean, I think that the banks prepared already. I think in Europe it's like that they can put kind of like a request that they are willing or wanting to offer crypto custodian services and stuff. I think the deadline, there is 2 deadlines. One, I think, for the bigger and one for the smaller companies. The first one is, I think, 10th of January. And upon receiving those requests, some, I don't know, FINMA or whomever, some regulatory instance will actually issue a verdict if it's okay for them to proceed or not. So I don't how is the word? I don't accept an immediate rise on the 1st of January just due to those new regulations. But those banks surely have been involved for those regulations coming online. So those who will apply for being able to hold digital assets custody, they will have their whatever it requires technically ready. So once the verdict is done, they can go for it, they will do it. It will not take another 12 months. You can be 100% sure about that. Yeah, SBI so far wasn't really the freaking huge. We're almost close to an hour. So I wanna particularly thank Stuart XRP and Mickey B Fresh. I'm hoping they're still online, and also Raf again. Maybe we can really. I will talk to Raf in private if he sees me doing another interview with him in the middle of January or so. If there is no other question coming in, I wanna thank you guys again for your persistence and trust and your interesting questions and the discussions we're having. I still think we have, or we're the best kind of followership there is on any of those YouTube channels. It's like a mature discussion is going on. There is literally little to none crap stuff going on. There is literally little to none when moon. It's really the intelligent guys being in my live stream, and that's something I really appreciate. I might be doing another English live stream before New Year's Eve, maybe in 2 days. That'll be Monday. I think today's Saturday, right? I don't know. Is Saturday today? I lost my. Yes, today is Saturday, so maybe on Monday. I might be doing another German live stream maybe tomorrow, a little bit earlier, maybe early afternoon or so. On the other ones, if you do not join me on the last live stream for this year, I really wish you a nice, happy new year. Don't get weak hands. I mean, I really feel we're so close. For those who need a little bit more, I know I'm not really. I'm not the proof of anything that anything will happen or so. I cannot prove that. But in the last, now it's already a month, maybe since. Up until that month, I was kind of full of hope it'll happen, but also a little bit, I don't know, not nervous, but a little bit pissed when the price dropped or so. And in the last 4 weeks, that totally changed. I can smile even if it drops. I have it's about the same feeling I have like when I asked my wife to marry me. I was like 100% sure this is the best thing in my life I will be doing, and I haven't regret any day since then. And it's about the same confidence in feeling towards XRP I'm having in the last. I was having zero doubts before, but I was a little bit of nervous when and what and why it will happen. But in the last 4 weeks, I totally calmed down. It's like I know it won't take long anymore now. And with that, I wish everyone, for those who will not join the last live stream, I wish again Happy New Year, and we see us in the New Year. In the week from 6th to 11th January, I won't be doing live streams because we will be in the mountains, in the Four Valleys area close to Verbier in Wallis, Switzerland. And as it looks right now, they have quite some snow already. Thanks everyone, and take care.